What are you wearing today? No, what are you wearing? What is up, YouTube? Alright guys, so it's been a month since we've been back in the gym. Some things have changed. Moved our sessions around, so give you guys a bit of a different workout layout this week. So doing an upper primarily push session. Usually we're doing pull or a leg session on this day, so a little bit different. We've made some changes since the last gym session. Literally as of yesterday, we're now inside 9 weeks out, so we're into the single digits.
Fun begins.
This is when stuff starts to really get fun. We've officially, in my opinion, crossed the best condition I've ever had. Everything now is just getting even more and more lean and really pulling out the crazy condition, not just being lean enough to be on stage. Our goal is not to be competitive, but to go up and win. So that's the plan, and that's what Chris is going to put us through. But yeah, with that, there's some changes to the program. So all our intensifier sets are coming down. Total set volumes come down just a little bit. Right now, it's more about preserving muscle tissue, preserving fatigue, managing joint health, managing injury health, make sure that everything is in a good position to maintain performance and leverage. So it's exactly where we want it to be. It's not because anything's wrong. Just right now, with only 8, 9 weeks out to the first show, we're still digging a little bit deeper, but then it's going to pull back soon enough where we'll start to increase food, refeeds, trial looks, etc. So these last 9 weeks, things start a little bit slow, but once the wheels get going, I'm seeing daily changes and weekly changes now that I've never seen before. So everything from this point on, day by day, will start to accumulate some massive shifts. So yeah, we've got an upper body session to get through. Right now, we've also got young Joshy coming up to stage as well. So he's looking phenomenal for his first time on stage. We'll be going through that today, what it's like to work with us as a first timer at such a young age. The responsibility that I take in guiding a young, high potential future athlete through what is going to be their very first and what I believe their life-changing season, and really get a taste of what bodybuilding is all about in the natural leagues before we decide to head down the IFBB route or something like that. So a lot to come for him, and we're going to go through all that today. But yeah, right now we've done our warm-up, so let's get stuck into it. Yeah, so YouTube crossed 2,500. That's 500 since our December. Apparently people want to hear what I have to say. Don't know why. With the session layout, I was really dominating my incline presses, and right now it's not a focus point that Chris needs us to worry about. So he's swapped some layouts to the session. So we had initially crucifix raises, incline cable flies, chest press. Now we've moved to shoulder press being first on this day, incline cable press being on another day. Again, order of specificity, trying to maximize specific demands and adaptations, trying to put as much effort and energy that we have while it's available at the start of the session towards the group we need to train, being the shoulders, trying to preserve those. I weaken out my shoulders quite quickly. My chest pressing stays quite strong. My shoulder pressing seems to diminish quite quickly. So putting that at the front end of the workout, so energy's highest, fatigue is lowest, stability is best. Should be able to get a little bit more load out of it and try and increase performance here on the shoulder press. So slight tweaks, and this is where coaching really gets nuanced and important. It's not massive change. We haven't changed the entire workout structure or anything like that. Just novel changes in order of execution, volume and rep schemes, and we'll see some drastic changes in that over the coming weeks with what that provides. So minute changes make big differences at this point of a prep or this level of physique development.
So what's been the biggest physical challenge in the prep so far?
Biggest physical challenge in the prep so far? Man, it's so hard to answer because in comparison to my previous preps, this is the most food I've ever been on, the best condition I've been this far out. Timelines have been managed. Physical output demands aren't as high, so Cardio is only 4 times a week. Steps are at 9 to 10,000. I've been at that consistently the whole time. Training sessions are just 5 days a week. So the hardest part physically right now, or the hardest part in general, it's hard to say accurately comparative to where I've been. I think it's going to get a lot harder in the coming weeks as things start to reach like what I've considered my potential condition. Getting to genuine stage lean that Chris will be happy with is where stuff will really start to drag. I've started to notice things get a little bit slower, which I'm trying to take care of and handle quite well. I'm a little bit tired earlier in the evening, winding down work a little bit sooner. So that's all the stuff that starts to accumulate over time. I was feeling that a lot earlier in the last couple of preps I've done, but this time, we're into single digits now, and I'm barely feeling it comparative to where I've been before. So it's hard to say what's the physically hardest part. More so now it's just managing fatigue so it doesn't get any harder or as hard as it will get, and trying to preserve myself as much as possible. So this is where it's important on the front end of prep to manage your fatigue and your timeline effectively so that you can handle these things as it gets deeper and deeper. You don't want to feel this way at the start and then it only gets worse, which is why we spend so much time telling people to prepare for prep properly.
So in other words, you're sitting pretty.
Sitting pretty.
Just another 8 rep.
This will be 6 to 8.
Yeah. And then up again on the last one?
No, I'll pull down.
Yeah.
This will be the actual working set.
Yeah.
All work for me, let's go. Up. Good. Good. Oh, fuck. Not quite. Whew. Yeah. Oh, shit. Biggest mental challenge has probably just been learning to switch off my brain. Trusting someone like Chris. There's, the hard part of being a coach and an athlete is that you'll look at the same data and be like, oh, this, that, or the other.
Nah, that's all yours.
No, it's all yours.
Yeah.
It's hard as a coach. You look at the same data sets that you provide, like my information, and be like, oh, this could happen, this would make sense. This could go either way, or this is what I'm seeing. But you're not supposed to do it. You don't need to do it. That's why you outsource it to someone else. So for me, given that I just love the numbers, I love seeing the information, looking what's responding, what's changing, what's happening, especially as we get to new levels of condition for myself. I try to look at it as like objectively as like just an athlete, like what would I do for the body if it was in this position? And I tend to ask Chris those questions so I can use me as a learning curve. But at the same time, that doesn't help me mentally. It's my coach brain kicking in, whereas my athlete brain needs to be the one that takes priority for myself. So learning to switch that off, especially as things start to get deeper and my brain starts to tell me like, hey, you should have more food, or like you should be, have that free meal, or don't track that. You get those little tiny rationales that'll be like, it's just one bite, what does it matter? Obviously, I experience less of those now, I've done this for so long, but they're still there and they still exist in people. So, having that sort of, I need to not be a coach for myself and just focus on being the athlete is probably going to be, or has been, the real struggle. And the more I work with Chris, I know that'll only get better because I'll build trust with him, and where we are right now is the best I've ever looked, and that's already got my trust. So from there it just becomes probably a bit easier to trust. But yeah, that's probably been the real mental struggle so far. Just trying to switch this off. Oh, come on, let's go. Yep. Right. On. Up. Ooh. So this is why exercise execution, order of execution matters. Last week, where this wasn't my order of exercises, I got 60 for 8. Not strong by any means at this point in prep, I know that. I just got 60 for 10 as my second set. So, order of execution, energy availability, all makes big differences. Oh. All right, let's take it up a notch. Let's go. Yup. Fuck. Woo.
What were you going for then?
6 to 8.
Was that 4? Did you get your 6?
Yeah.
Oh, I must have missed 2. I was like, there's only
Like
4.
When the fuck do we...
There's only
God
4
damn it.
there, bro.
I'm adding 3 reps in my head. That was 10.
But I might have to replay that back. I don't know if I got 6 there. Are you got another 2 of these at 6?
Yeah.
All right.
Not at 6. Alright, so about this point of a prep, one thing that people need to understand is pretty common, and will be a common experience for most athletes, first time or experienced, is that you start to flatten out. We use the expression get flat to lose fat, right? So you start to flatten out, muscle bellies don't look as full, they're not as poppy, a little bit more vascular, condition starts to come through, but you look small, you look and feel smaller. In the world of body dysmorphia and image delusion, it's very easy to start feeling that you're even smaller than you are. You know, you're running out of muscle mass, you're fatter than you are, you got to dig harder, and you start to really get to this middle ground where, you know, you're not quite where you want to be yet, but you're not as big as what you also think you could be or should be. And so your brain starts playing games on how flat you actually are, how much fat you still have, how big you look, and of course, you know, it's a very common trope in bodybuilding that during a prep, during a cut phase, you know, you want to be bigger, you want to get fuller, you want to look heavier, and then when you get heavier, you know, you want to look leaner, you want to get smaller and thin out. So it's very common to go through this period. Even for myself, right now stuff is feeling looser, you know, clothes aren't as tight as what they were in my thighs and quads. You know, perceptually things just feel smaller and flatter, but at the same time, I've never been this lean. The goal was to get this lean and then start to fill back up into the show. So you've got to be mindful of the strategy and the approach and the phase that you're running, how the mind and the brain and the body are going to respond. At the end of the day, your brain needs to survive. Starving it of food and oxygen, fats, glycogen, it's going to do everything it can to try and preserve itself, which is going to lead to you wanting to eat more food, to feel smaller, so you eat more, you know, to want to preserve your body and actually try and survive life. So it's an interesting stage to be in, and it's also where, you know, when we talk about psychologically being ready to handle prep, this is why it's so important, is if you get to this stage and you're not ready for it, you will 100% break. And so you start to add in your own cheat meals, you start to, you know, ditch the plan, you stop sticking to the structure of routine and the calories you're on, and everything just starts to get muddied. So it's a very interesting part of the prep, but it's a mental game now at this point as much as it is physical. Oh shit. Oh.
If you could sum up this prep so far in one sentence, what would it be?
In one sentence, I would say night and day. This prep, like, yeah, it's going to start getting real hard soon. It's going to start getting exhausting and tiring, but comparatively, this prep has been night and day to anything I've done before. in a very good way. Yeah, I'm grateful for all the experiences I have from previous preps, because I know that what I ask of clients, I've done it, and there is nothing that they'll say that I haven't tried. But to now be in a position where like I feel like I genuinely belong on a stage and will be in a condition to be on stage, it's definitely night and day to any prep I've done before.
And what's your funniest prep story? Either yours or a client's?
Chris loves this story. Probably one of the dumbest things he's ever heard. We've all got dumb prep stories, especially for our first times really getting lean. But the funniest prep story that we have is on my last season that I actually got on stage, so 2022. There was this stubborn area. I just could not get the typical male stress area, my lower stomach, to really dry out. I had vascularity coming out my eyeballs from my lats, my lower back, my extensors, my rhomboids, chest, pecs, shoulders, everything was shredded. I just couldn't get rid of this like stubborn area around my lower stomach. And we were doing everything. I was putting like deep heat creams on it. I was putting subcut creams on it. Acetyl L-carnitine, the hoodie, jumpers, sweat box while we're doing cardio, all that. And we got to this point where I was thinking about water cutting techniques. I was like, it feels more like a film of fluid than it does anything else. And so every night for the last 2 weeks of prep, we were wrapping my stomach with subcut and an anti-estradiol cream, and then wrapping it in Glad Wrap to the point where it was like basically almost like a corset around my stomach. And I was waking up with this pool of sweat inside the Glad Wrap, and then just just ripping it off in just the slight hopes that like a 0.01% chance that it's a little bit leaner or like a little bit more fat come off, and just trying to get that next level of fat, which again, joking about my clients never been able to tell me anything that I haven't done. The reason why my clients will always have a better experience is that I use my experience as part of my evidence and research, understanding and anecdote to program for them so they don't have to go through what I did. But in that crazy desire to get to that next level of condition that I hadn't reached yet, I was like, what's that 1%, 0.01% thing that's gonna help me get there? And Chris will love this story, but he thought it was hilarious. And I was like, people have done Glad Wrap water cuts before. I just thought, why not? Let's see what happens. We'll try everything else.
Did it work?
I mean, I got a gold medal. All right, so one of the things that good athletes understand, and good clients, especially when it comes to a strategy layout or a strategy execution deep inside prep, is there is a distinct difference between asking questions for the sake of understanding and developing a better why, developing a better how, and then challenging and arguing because you believe better or you think you know more. It's a slight degree of arrogance / insecurity, but also a fear of thinking you're not going to turn a certain way or turn up a certain way. You don't trust the plan enough to have honest questions and conversation with your coach, so it kind of becomes an attack on the plan itself. Being able to distinctly ask good questions so that you can learn and know what's happening and why is a very important skill, I believe, for athletes to master, especially in preps when nuance is so important, data starts to get so important. It's worth knowing certain things, but then at a certain point you have to learn to switch off, trust the coach, and understand that there is a plan in place for a reason. You've outsourced to trust that person for a reason. Arguing or trying to attack or question doesn't really produce the outcome that you think it does. Being able to communicate effectively and know that, hey, I'm asking a good question because I want to know more, or my coach is inviting questions to the process, versus I'm going to attack him because I don't agree, or my friend's friends told me this or that I should look a certain way or be doing something different, isn't going to help your physique as much as you think it is. And I would argue it is going to make you look worse because you're going to be so much more stressed. So learn the distinction between arguing with your coach and trying to ask good questions for the sake of learning and knowledge development, because you will improve how you're coached, how you respond, and also how you manage stress in your prep whilst you learn along the way. So big distinct difference there, I think. One of the most important aspects you need to learn as a first timer for your prep is peak week is not magically going to save your physique and is not going to magically put you in first place. One of the mistakes that a lot of people make in their first time, their first run to show, is thinking that peak weeks and the week leading up to the actual stage is this magical, fairy tale land where all these great things happen and life changes, and all of a sudden they're 5% leaner than what they were. The reality is, peak week doesn't change anything if your physique is not in a position to adjust or change with the desired outcomes. You have to be in a position first for a peak week to be effective, and arguably, most people need less in peak week than they do more, and it's a huge mistake that people make in thinking they have to do more stuff or have more food or change more variables in order to bring out this super adjusted look that's going to make them win first place. If you can do anything in peak week, it is sit down and do less, and I almost guarantee you have a better outcome than if you try to do more and try to take more stuff and eat more food. It's one of the biggest misconceptions, I think, from years and years and years of watching bodybuilding footage and having so much access to social media. We have misunderstood the point of what a peak week is to realistically de-stress your body to bring it in as fresh as possible to a stage and manipulate it with an efficient and effective amount of carbohydrates that's going to bring the look out. In a perfect world, you don't really need to do much because you're already ready. So be ready before you get to peak week, and you'll actually get the effects of what peak week's supposed to do. Ready, 12. Oh shit. Nope. Woo. I know everyone always talks about wanting the pro athletes and they want to have pro clients, but there's something to be said with people that have no prior bad habits from the prep. So the way I look at it, Josh, is like it's almost a privilege and a responsibility, because I laid the foundations for him on what bodybuilding could be or should be. I'm responsible for how he experiences coaching in bodybuilding for the first time, and that can either tarnish his perception of the sport and the lifestyle, or it can amplify and make it better. So with coaching the first time, you got all these new experiences, these first time interactions, these unknowns that they've never gone through before, that you're responsible for guiding them, mentoring them, encouraging them, educating them, controlling them, keeping them focused and on track. So there's a lot more responsibility, I think, that comes with a first timer, especially who's in genuine shape. And someone like Josh, where the slightest variable is going to start having impact when they get to close proximity to stage. there's a lot to manage and help them understand and get through. So obviously there's responsibilities at the pro level for sure, at a complexity side of things, but there's more developmental responsibilities when it's working with someone who's never had a show experience that you are responsible for handling and managing and helping them get through. So it obviously all falls back on the client to do the thing, but as a coach, there is a huge responsibility in how you help them navigate and get through what is their first time, because this is all about building their appreciation, understanding, and knowledge of the sport. What comes after that is where we start to push the pro potential. So I'd say that's probably one of the biggest differences for me.
What are you being most mindful with of Josh, given his age?
His exposure to the industry and what he perceives needs to be done. So it's very easy to get caught up in this game at the age that he's at. You know, it's very malleable, very influential. You've got to be mindful and cautious of what he gets exposed to and thinks is required to get to the next level before he gets to the level he's at. You know, it's like knowing how to keep the stallion in the gates until it's time to let it run. For someone as encourageable as him, as excitable as him, as curious as him, the wrong information can send him down the wrong track. And it's something that I take a lot of responsibility in, is that if we're not cautious, ends up doing the wrong thing, gets caught up in the wrong thing, worries about the wrong things, doesn't prioritize the big blocks first, his health first. You know, at 18, the potential that he has now, the physique he's already developed, there's a huge runway of career time here for him. And I'd rather he enjoy every moment of it than, you know, push the envelope early and end up ruining his body, ruin his life, ruin his physique, ruin his health, and then fall out of love with it anyway. So big thing for me is just controlling that, making sure that he understands what's important, taking from the sport in the way that he should, and really just trying to emulate our philosophy into how we coach people, especially his age, to try and, you know, learn from the sport as much as he, you know, builds his physique. So this whole first prep for us really is just building out his character, building out his athlete mentality, learning, asking the right questions. We're building a base set of data here that will help guide us make decisions for his future career. So there's a lot to be said for where he is and what we have to protect him from, and also encourage him to do, and make sure that he learns the good parts of this industry and what it has to offer, and not get caught up in the shit. No, I don't know if every coach sees it that way. I don't know if every coach cares that much. I don't know if every coach views the responsibility of that for bodybuilding, but you know, it's definitely a benchmark for us on how we really look at the responsibility of younger first timers. So yeah.
If you were talking to someone directly doing their very first show, what would you want them to understand?
What I would really like them to understand, probably a few things. But primarily, you are not going to be at your peak physique in your first season. You're trying to bring the best physique you have at the time. And that it's going to be slower than you think it is, but it's going to go quicker than you realize. The time is going to pass either way. Rushing it and ending up early in the grave or falling out of love with the sport is not going to make you better faster. You will find your ceiling, you will find your potential if you stick with it. Incremental progress over time will almost always outweigh the rushed progression if that rushed progression leads to injury or drop off. So there's a few aspects there, but in that first instance of a career, I think that's probably where, we really need to focus the athlete and have them understand things. During peak week, to remove the misconceptions and the magical moments and the this, that, and the other, I would argue peak week, overly nuanced for a first time or a new physique, can run the risk of doing more damage to the look than if you just didn't do a peak week at all, or like a usual, standard perceived peak week. So in peak week, realistically, what we're trying to do is de-escalate stress, lower fatigue, drive a little bit of blood, push food around, sure, but a lot of what's actually happening is more about stress reduction. So all these techniques you hear about people that usually get like these amazing results or these responses, a lot of what's happening is actually de-escalation in sympathetic nervous system dial tone. So the body's actually turning up its relaxation state. Now what happens when that happens? You have improved digestion, you have improved reduction in cortisol, you have an improved ability to sleep deeper, and the body just tends to relax more. So you got better nutrient partitioning, better nutrient digestion absorption, bowel movements are cleaner, uptake of food is better, you're sleeping deeper, so everything just naturally feels less fatiguing, less exhausting, and your body's holding things properly or better. A lot of that comes from being able to just relax into the show and knowing you've done the work. People that get overly complicated about peak weeks, especially in physiques that haven't really warranted it, end up creating more stress, more anxiety, and more nuance than necessary. And unless you're at that stage where 1% of a physique, or like you're 1% away from exactly where you need to be, a peak week isn't going to give you that 10-15% change that you're looking for. It's going to probably make things worse if you try to overdo it when you aren't ready. So inside peak week, not a lot actually happens that's necessary. I think people add a lot of complexity to it to seem really sophisticated, but for the average physique getting on stage for the first time, a peak week really is simple, calm, and should be relaxing, as opposed to making it overly complicated and nuanced, in my opinion. My client Metals might say otherwise, I don't know, I could be wrong. We'll do some, what time do you have? Any? Okay. We'll do some posing in a second, see what you look like. How'd you feel after he had his, I can probably get this on camera actually, he had his first refeed for prep. How'd you feel come Monday?
Monday, probably I felt the best. It was harder during the actual refeed because there was just so much food, like so much more food than what I was used to at this point. And normally it wouldn't be a struggle, I think, getting all that food in, but it was just, Ben told me I need to keep my gut in so that I don't like lose the tight waist or whatever. So keeping my gut in while I had like a kilogram of food in me was a struggle, to say the least. But
if you can do it with a kilo of food, you can do it on show day. If you can do it with a kilo of food in your stomach, you can do it on show day.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But yeah, it was fun. Lazy days, to be honest with you. I just trained, went home, just chilled out and ate, and then did some steps whenever I felt hungry. Whenever I felt bloated. But yeah.
How'd your session on Monday feel?
Monday actually felt better than the 2 days when I was eating a lot.
I expect as much.
Yeah.
Pump, fullness, hardness.
Yeah. It was also because it felt better at the beginning, but then at the end I kind of dropped off. But
how you felt on Monday?
Yeah, no, Monday I felt good. I still felt kind of full from the days prior. But yeah, I felt good.
Cool. It's good indications for what'll happen for your actual refeed coming into the show. So like learning how you digest food, how you hold it. Because like realistically, come show day, we'll pump up into the show with good rounds of posing and some volume work. So that pump feeling will kind of be what you want to emulate on stage anyway. So getting a feeling of how your body handles that and how long it takes to clear out glycogen will be a good indicator of when we actually start to load you up. Whether it's the Wednesday, whether it's Friday, whether it's the day before, 2 days ago, etc. So that's where at this point we start getting information on your physique and seeing how you respond to stuff.
What data did you get from the photos? Because I couldn't, like, in the second photos that I sent through, in like Sunday morning, I noticed maybe I had a little bit more fluid retention or whatever. I was a little bit.
No, I think you were fuller and harder on the first lot of photos, and then Mondays you were a bit like we spilled over, which is good.
Yeah,
I want that to happen.
Monday, yeah. That's
so Monday you were a little bit watery, like a little bit like fullness that got pushed.
Yeah.
So you call it like muscle saturation. And then the Sunday photos were definitely like your harder, fuller look.
Yeah, no, Sunday looked good.
You know, vascularity was out, dryness was there. You could tell it like you'd push the skin, which is good. A good pump there would have done wonders for that look. So like that before show with a good pump up would be a great sort of like position to be in. But yeah, so the weight spike of about 1 kilo or so is great. It's like only gaining about 1 kilo on 1,000 grams of carbs over 2 days is pretty good.
Yeah.
Gives us good indication then of what your body's going to do and respond to, and then how long it takes to clear that out. So we'll see this week how your body takes to digest that food and sort of move on from it.
Yeah.
Whether it's 2 days, 3 days, whether it's 1 day, whatever. So you start to get sort of that information together and know how you'll respond to it. So yeah, it's actually really good data, really clear. This is why, you know, me and Chris were talking about the other day, it's important to be in condition before we start pushing refeeds and trials. Because if we just refeed while you're still fat, we can't see anything.
Yeah.
So having actual clarity, detail, density, condition to then see how the body responds to it. You can see this very clearly in the photos where your body went from flat and shredded to pushing against the skin. That's what that poppy fullness look starts to look like.
I noticed that on Sunday with my legs.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was curious to see, if the fatigue washed off a little bit and like this fullness actually came back out.
Yeah.
If that brought out more detail or washed you out. So the first lot of photos on the Sunday I think was definitely your better look.
Yeah.
But you weren't far off on the second day. So like that tells me you do need food on the second day, and we'll see how that goes the more lean we get as well.
Okay. Wait, so do you think it's like it's more like it's probably not like this at all, but it's like, are we going to do a refeed in like another 2 or 3 weeks or something like that?
So refeeds for you from now will just depend on like what data's starting to show.
Yeah.
So like, are you fatiguing? Is weight dropping too fast? Is the look changing quickly?
Yeah.
How training performance is going. So we probably won't do 2 days again. We'll do like single days and just do them as we need them. Oh yeah, legs filled out heaps. What was your weight today? Oh nice, okay. Right, quarter 10. Trunks up. Trunks up. Feel that back up a bit more for me. That's it. There you go, good. And turn. Relax a little bit, pull down. There you go, that's better. And turn. Face that way. Back to the front. Front bicep. That's it. Elbows just a little bit forward. Yep. Chest tall. There you go. Yeah. Relax. lat spread. Nice. I'm going to bring those shoulders under. There you go, that's better. Good. Bring his hands to the side more. Yeah. Under. There you go, that's better. Good. And side chest. And side tricep. Pull right down, that's it. Good, there you go. Yep. The big dog. And to the back. Just come forward a little bit. Yeah. And then pull down here. And relax, lat spread. Nice. Good. Back to the front. Most muscular. Yeah, good. Let's go forward. Nice. And relax, favorite classic. There you go. Good, that's better. Transition. Vacuum. Nice. Good. And relax. Catch your breath again. Use that to get your head back in. Abs and thigh. Vacuum. Nice. Quads on. Nice. And relax. Good. Sweet. Good job. Very good.
I've been practicing my transitions and just holding poses.
Yep.
And I was really practicing holding my lat because you're pretty much always getting that pose.
Yep.
I want to get to the point where I can hold it for 5 minutes of that. And then you get hands on the street or whatever.
Yep.
So yeah, I'm gonna put my toes back on so I get more.
Hey, Pete. Pete, what was that you were saying about glutes? Alrighty guys, so that is our upper push day 1, under 9 weeks out from the first show. As you can see, body's starting to really respond now, conditions coming in. Got Josh here, going through some rounds of posing. Basically we just covered why the first time, your first season is so important, how to handle it mentally, what to look for, you know, things to consider when it comes to your peak weeks and your first prep. You know, a lot of information inside that, as well as some training. So, coaching is still available. We're not shutting the books yet or anything like that. If you're interested in coaching, interested in getting a spot, competing soon in the next 12 months, make sure you reach out, book in your consult, have a chat. Let's actually go through our confirmation session that we are the team that helps you. I'm not for everyone, but it also means that I'm for the right people. So if you're ready to actually get on stage, take yourself to the next level, this is how you do it. This is why you do it. And yeah. Let's make it happen.
We got him.